What's going on, everybody? This is the Undefeated by Choice podcast brought to you by Still Fist Fight. We are fresh on the heels of the UFC 248 fiasco shit show. I mean, come on, let's be real. That fight between Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero was awful. There's no two ways around it. That fight was terrible. Luckily, we had the co-main event, which was, I'll get into it. I'm so happy we had that fight. That was awesome. I'm going to save that for last because I want to give the good news. I want to save the good for last, leave on a positive note, instead of leaving on a negative note, which is the main, absolutely negative, absolutely bullcrap. But, first and foremost, Still Fist is the reason we're here. I wouldn't have a job. I would have a job, but I wouldn't have a job doing what I love without those guys. April 4th is our next card. They just announced the next card, so if you go to Still Fist Fight on Instagram or Still Fist Fight Night on Facebook, you will see that card, and it's stacked. I mean, if you're in Utah and you know Utah talent, you know that card is stacked from top to bottom. I'm so excited about it. I'm going to do more talking about it, getting into it. I just really wanted to get in and talk about these two fights. I'm not even going to talk about any of the other fights. I'll probably do a video that breaks down a little bit more about, or just talks a little bit more about, how impressive Neil Magny was, how impressive Sean O'Malley was. So I will probably do a video about them. I don't know for sure yet. And of course, I'll talk more about the Still Fist card coming up in April. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to say about this 248 card about the main event other than it was awful. I mean, a few people have come out and, a few of the higher ups, Dana White came out and said it sucked. And pretty much everybody's come out and said it just wasn't a good fight. And it wasn't. There was no action. There was no real pacing. It was just two people circling each other in the ring you can't even call it a fight. Like, you really can't. To me, it felt like the guys at the bar who say they're going to fight, they do all the talking, they go outside and everyone's around them and they know that the fight isn't going to get broken up until someone throws the first punch, but neither of them really actually want to fight. They just said they did, so they're kind of stuck in that moment, and then they go out and they're like, crap, and then so they just kind of try to throw a few punches just to let people break it up, and then they can both feel tough at the end. I mean, honestly, that's what that fight felt like to me. Israel getting the decision, it's hard to say I don't agree with it. I don't really. I mean, I actually kind of was leaning towards Romero just because I felt like Romero, even though there was a lack of attack, I feel like when he did attack, he was trying to end the fight. I feel like when he did throw a punch, he was trying to end the fight. And so for me, that is what wins. For me, that's what won that fight, which is sad that just the fact that one person was really trying to end the fight was the only reason I give him the fight. Because there was just not enough action. There was no action. I honestly think it should have been a draw. I think that it should have been a draw. If you're not going to give us a fight, then why are we going to give you a win? Why are we going to put a win in your column if you aren't going to fight? If you're not willing to fight? I think neither of them should have gotten that win. I think that was a bullcrap fight, and they were both scared's not the word to use. I hate when people talk about people being afraid. If you're going to lock yourself in the cage, you're not really afraid. But I don't really, for lack of better words, they both seemed like they were fighting scared. I hope you can get what I mean by that, because I don't really think anybody who gets in there is afraid of the other person. Or there's always there's a little fear, but not like to stop you from doing it. So I don't really think that there's a lot of fear in this sport. They talk about it more than there actually is. I don't think either of them was really scared of the other one. Maybe they were. I don't know. You can tell what Romero's game plan was. It was to counterpunch Izzy. It was to wait for Izzy to come to him instead of him go to Izzy. And it was funny. The announcers were trying to save this fight, and they were like, "Oh, these fans are spoiled. They had such a good co-main event that the only reason they're booing this match is because they're spoiled and because they just, they had such an amazing fight. They're bloodthirsty. That's not the case. This fight was awful. This fight was not worth watching. There were reports that I can't remember who reported this. Maybe it was Luke Thomas. Had friends reporting that people were walking out during the main event. People were leaving. They were just like, I'm going to go to my car. This isn't even worth watching. I'm out of here. When have you ever heard of that? You didn't even hear about that in the Anderson Silva-Damian Maia fight, which was not a great fight. And people talk about how terrible that one and how that up until this one was the worst fight. I don't remember hearing reports of people leaving the stadium during that fight. But this fight, people were like, nah, man. Not for me. I'm not going to sit here. I spent my good money to come watch this, and this is what you're going to give me. It wasn't that the fans were bloodthirsty. It was that this fight was terrible. Neither one of them had a game plan that served the other one's vision of the way this fight was going to go. I understand this is why Romero's game plan was the way it was. You see what happens when people rush Izzy. Izzy's a great counterpuncher. He is probably the best. Maybe not counterpuncher, but defensive puncher. He's really good at when you come and attack him, stepping off the center line, or even moving straight back. He does move straight back a lot, which I'm going to get to that. Something he's got to fix here, or else he's going to be in trouble here in the future. He's really good at stepping back or stepping to the side and then getting the best of the exchange at that point. So if you rush forward, i.e. Robert Whittaker, Kevin Gastelum, he's going to start getting your timing down. He's going to start getting all of that down. He's going to start piecing you up, which is what he did on both those fights. And so both those guys are, most of his fights are people coming at him. Brunson was him coming at him. And then, I just mentioned Whittaker and Gastelum. People coming at him. And that's where Izzy's at his best, is when you're rushing towards him. Obviously, Whittaker or Romero sees this, and so his game plan is to not do that, not rush at him and play into his game. So his game was to stand still, stand in the center of the octagon, and be flat-footed for the first 90 seconds, not even do anything, just stand there and wait for Izzy to come in and start attacking him so that he could maybe counter Israel. And Israel wasn't willing to do that. He wasn't willing to exchange with him. He wasn't willing to go in and try to make a fight out of it. He wasn't willing to take any risks. He was going to play it safe. And I just feel like I heard him in the press conference, and he was like, "Oh, it takes two." Like, he's of course blaming it on Romero, like it was all Romero's fault. Yeah, half of it, 50% of it was his fault. The other 50 was 100%. Or my percentages are awesome. 50%, 100%. The other half of it was completely Izzy's fault. He wasn't willing to take chances. He wasn't willing to put himself in harm's way to try to put on an exciting fight. And he was not trying to finish the fight. As a matter of fact, when Romero would go in, and he did the very few times that he went in and attacked him, he was trying to finish the fight. He was throwing as hard as he could, throwing as hard as punches as he could. He did a rolling thunder. He was flying into. He was doing. When he did attack, it was very exciting, very explosive. He had that double leg that didn't last. I mean, he didn't hold Izzy down. Izzy popped right back up, but he had that double leg that looked like a NFL linebacker blitzing, through the middle. He lowered his shoulder and took Izzy straight down. But credit to Izzy, like I had said in my other breakdown, is I thought Izzy's takedown defense is not that terrible, and he's probably pretty good at getting back up, which he did. He popped right back up. Credit to him there, but I felt like Romero was trying to finish. When he did throw, he was trying to finish. I do not feel at all like when Izzy was exchanging, he was trying to finish. I feel like he was trying to stay on the outside, and When you leave a fight and your only emphasis of bragging is look at them leg kicks, look at his legs. I was tearing him up with those leg kicks and my jab. Dude, that's not a good look. That's not a good look, bro, to try to brag about leg kicks and jabs. First of all, you landed leg kicks and his leg looks disgusting and he probably has a hard time walking on it today, but in the fight yesterday, those weren't stopping the fight. Those weren't stopping his explosion. It wasn't stopping him from moving, forward, which he wasn't doing very well, but it wasn't great. Your leg kicks, they were landing, and you did do damage because, we saw the pictures after and we saw the redness, and I'm sure he has a tough time today, but those weren't fight-ending leg kicks. We've seen fights end due to leg kicks. That wasn't going to happen this time. You went 5 rounds with kicking his legs, and it didn't slow down his explosion, and it wasn't going to end the fight. So when that's your source to brag is, I threw a lot of leg kicks, dude, just admit you had a shit fight. It wasn't all your fault. You can say this, like, man, that fight was garbage. It wasn't all my fault. I played my part and he played his, and it is what it is. But to try to make it sound like it's all his fault and that you actually were trying to do something, it's clear you weren't. When have we ever seen Izzy just going to leg kick? You think that was the game plan, to just go in and throw leg kicks? No, he was talking about finishing. He was talking about finishing Romero all week. The whole time, I'm going to finish this guy. I'm going to sleep him. And then you didn't even take a risk to try to sleep him. You didn't even put yourself in harm's way to try to do it. And so, I'm not I'm just, it was so frustrating to watch. And he was running a lot of the time. A lot of the fight was him running around the cage, running away from Romero's attacks. So for you to even pretend like you were the only one that was trying to do it, that was trying to, make the fight happen. The fight doesn't happen if you're running away from the action, bro. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a good look. When you're in there when you're in there and you're in battle and someone's coming at you and you're running around the octagon to the complete opposite side, that's not a good look. That doesn't look like someone who wants to fight. That doesn't look like someone who wants to be there. So, and when I was mentioning, when I did bring up, sometimes, he steps straight back. I brought this up in my breakdown beforehand, where I think Romero would have the ability to take him down, where he just leans his head back. I've noticed he does that a lot, and that's when he gets caught. He doesn't handle looping punches or overhands the best. He actually, almost every time he does get a significant strike land on him, it is either a looping hook or an overhand. That's what Gastelum caught him with every time. The couple times that Whitaker did land, maybe not a super hard punch, but it was still a looping punch, or it was never really anything down the middle. And then Romero caught him hard. The very first punch that he threw landed hard, and it was an overhand, and Izzy just leans his head back, and he got caught. Izzy's going to have to fix that, because if everyone starts seeing, if I'm watching at my house and I'm seeing this, there's no way that I'm the only one that's seeing that. There's no way that so if he doesn't fix that, that's how he's going to get slept. Because if Romero kept attacking and kept throwing that and landing it like Gastelum was, it would have been night-night. It would have been over. That should have been the game plan. But again, that means you have to rush forward, which Izzy is really good at countering. But it's like he's either really good at countering it or he's terrible at countering it. Like, there's no middle ground. It's either he steps to the side or he gets his head out of the way and then he fires back a bunch of shots and he lands them, or he just gets cracked. And you're only going to be able to eat so many of those. Right now, he's probably got a strong chin. He's young. He hasn't taken as many shots, but eventually that's going to start putting him to sleep. And if he doesn't fix that, that's going to be the end of it, because we know what happens once you start getting cracked, once you start going to sleep on due to strikes. Like, it just gets worse. A la Chuck Liddell. as soon as he got knocked, he had the strongest chin, but as soon as he got knocked out, it became a thing that he was going to get knocked out, that he was going to go to sleep. So, Izzy's got to fix that, man. That's every time he's gotten cracked, it's been that same thing, a fighter lunging forward and then throwing an overhand or throwing a hook. And if he's not firing back and connecting, he's getting caught, and he's getting caught with hard shots. So Romero could have capitalized on it, but he didn't. This isn't all. I knew when I was going to do this analysis, it was probably going to sound a lot like it was all Izzy's fault, and that's not it. It's Romero had a game plan that he was not willing to switch from. Once you saw that Izzy wasn't going to come forward, he needed to be the one to take action. Someone needed to take charge. Like, you want to talk about dancing, the whole thing about dancing is you have a leader and you have a follower, and that's what dancing is. Someone, and it can switch, your roles can switch within the dance, but someone has to lead and someone has to follow. Neither one of them wanted to lead. Neither one of them wanted to tango. They both wanted to follow. And what we got out of it was a garbage fight. But this is where I get annoyed that, like, Izzy he's young, he's confident, but he needs to learn to take credit or give credit where credit's due. He needs to learn to be honest, because he talks about how real he is, but it's clear that he's not being real. He's not being honest. He said in the post-fight press conference, "I ate his hardest shot and it did nothing to me." He says, he hit me with that overhand, and I ate his best shot, and I'm still here. It didn't wobble me. It didn't do anything. Within like 2 minutes later, someone says, "Well, you're blinking your eye a lot after you're blinking your left eye a lot. What was that all about in the first round?" He said, "Well, I got cracked by his shot, and I was seeing double. I was seeing two of them." Didn't you just say that you got hit by his best shot and it didn't do anything to you? Now you're saying you got hit by his shot and you were seeing double? Like, your story is he's just making things up as he's going along. Like, he knows to say that the shot didn't do anything because then it makes him sound awesome, makes him sound way tougher than he really is. If he ate one of Romero's best shots and it did nothing to him, and then 2 minutes later you're saying that the shot rocked you and you had you blinking because you were trying to clear out the cobwebs because you were seeing double. Your story's not lining up. We're seeing in the press conference that you're lying. Then he went on to talk about the leg kicks, because of course that was the big thing. Is Romero really made of steel? Is Romero really made of steel? Is it really going to hurt his leg? And he was going to know better than anybody, because he really attacked those legs. That's all he did, was attack the legs. That's the only strike he really had, was a few jabs and leg kicks. Of course, I'm being dramatic. He threw other stuff, but pretty much just leg kicks. So of course that was the big question: is he really made of steel? And he's just like, oh no, he had a meaty leg. It felt like real dense meat, but I kicked the bottom of the bag. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm limping around, but it's not because of his leg. Look, you just showed your card. Like, why would you even bring that up at that moment if that wasn't the direct cause of it? You could have, I see the motor, the gears turning in your head while you're thinking, while you're talking. And if you were just saying, no, man, he's got a meaty leg, a dense leg, but it wasn't a problem, you wouldn't have then gone, oh, but I am kind of limping, my foot does kind of hurt. I'm going to admit that, but then take it back and say, but it wasn't because of his leg. You didn't even bring it up at that point, because now we all know that's exactly why you're limping, because it hurt his leg. Then you talked about switching stances. In that same process of thought, you were thinking about it, and you're thinking about how your leg hurt, and you're thinking about how you switched stances because it was hurting, kicking him in the leg. So then you switched to southpaw, and then you brought that up, again proving that his leg, it hurts to kick him, because you had to switch stances. And then he's like, well, I was attacking the inside. Yeah, you were doing that because that's what's available to you now. But still, it was hurting your leg so bad that you switched stances. And you wouldn't have brought it up at that moment had that not been the reason. You can't bullshit me. You can't lie. People are way too smart for that. I'm not going to say I'm way too smart for that. But what I'm going to say is, if I can see that, if I can piece that together, the majority of the people can, because I'm a dullard. I'm an idiot. But if I can see that's your thought process, there's a lot of other people that can see that you're just lying. You're just saying things to sound a lot tougher than you really are. So again, man, that fight should have been a draw. Neither one of them wanted to win. Neither one of them wanted to fight, so why are we going to award somebody with a win? Like, usually we give draws out to people who both want it and people who both go for it, but it also goes for the same. People who need, when both fighters don't want it, just give them a draw. Get them out of here. Like, let people know you're not going to get a win on your record if you don't go in and put on a fight. You're not going to put a win on your record if you don't decide to take control. This whole fight should be overturned and should be a draw because it was garbage. And then, you know, I am of the belief that if you're going to beat the champ, you've got to beat the champ. You've either got to finish him or you've really got to take it to him. You've got to win the rounds decisively. I'm usually a believer in that, but in this fight, it was so weird. It was so terrible. If I had to, absolutely gun to my head, choose a winner, I would have said Romero, because I felt like when he did attack, he was trying to win the fight. He was trying to finish the fight. I don't feel like Izzy did. I feel like Izzy wanted to stay on the outside. He wanted to collect points with leg kicks and then use that to try to sound like that was, you know, the game changer. Like it was a close fight until you found out the leg kicks and you just ran away with it. No, you started firing off leg kicks because you didn't want him inside. You didn't want him firing off shots. And instead of taking a risk and, you know, throwing punches from the outside, you just decided I'm going to throw leg kicks, and every time he steps in, I'm going to throw a leg kick because I don't want him inside. That's you know, I'm scared to exchange 101. You know, when I step in sparring with someone that I'm scared of, someone that I know has better hands than me, someone I know is faster than me, you know what I do? I leg kick the shit out of them. I don't want them stepping forward on me at all. That's 101. Everyone knows that. If someone's throwing a bunch of leg kicks like that not like the Jose Aldo, I'm trying to kick your leg off of your body kicks. Well, old school Jose Aldo, he doesn't do it as much anymore. But if you're throwing those, that's a different story. But if you're throwing what Izzy was throwing, some of them were hard. I would say a good portion of them were hard, but other ones were literally just to keep him from coming inside. All right, sorry for that break, everybody. I got a phone call on my phone, and apparently that disrupts the entire recording. All that I was going to kind of say about that, again, I was saying that fight should have been a draw. If I had to pick somebody gun to my head, I would have chosen Romero. The last thing I kind of want to say is, I don't even know if I want to get into it. It's just like the numbers. I was going to go into the numbers about, I'm not going to go into every round, but like first round, Izzy landed 2 of 11 strikes. Romero landed 4 of 6. In the third round, Izzy landed 12 of 30. Romero landed 9 of 13. In the fifth round, Izzy landed 12 of 29, and Romero landed 14 of 33. I mean, that's